Hello and welcome back to diving into project management expertise. In our last episode, we explored how to apply project management frameworks in real-world projects. We covered the challenges of choosing the right framework, adapting when things don't go as planned, and balancing different methodologies. But here is the thing. Even if you select the perfect framework, your project success doesn't depend only on processes and methodologies. It depends on people, your stakeholders. And if you ever managed a project, you know this. A perfect plan can fall apart if executives suddenly change priorities. A well-structured agile sprint can fail if your team isn't engaged or aligned. A project can get stuck because of hidden influencers who aren't officially involved, but still hold power over decisions. That's why today's episode is all about stakeholder management and communication. Because great project management isn't just about timelines and deliverables. It's about managing relationships and influencing without authority. By the end of this episode, you'll learn how to identify and categorize stakeholders, how to communicate effectively and influence without direct authority, techniques to handle difficult stakeholders and conflicts. This is a skill that separates good project managers from great ones. So let's dive in. Stakeholders can make or break your project, but before you can manage them effectively, you need to identify who are they and understand their level of influence and interest. Who are your stakeholders? Stakeholders are anyone who has an interest in your project's outcome. This includes executives and decision makers, those who set project priorities and allocate funding, project team members, the people doing the actual work, clients and end users, those who will ultimately use the product or service, regulatory bodies and external partners, entities that influence compliance and standards. Example, launching a new software product. Imagine you are managing a project to launch a new software project. Your stakeholders could include the CEO and executives who expect a successful launch that meets business goals, the engineering team responsible for building the product, the marketing department tasked with creating buzz and demand, the customer support team who must be ready to handle inquiries post-launch, and the end users who will ultimately decide if your product succeeds or fails. Understanding who's involved is only the first step. Next, you need to analyze their level of influence and interest. A useful tool for stakeholder management is the power versus interest grid. This framework helps you prioritize stakeholders based on their power, their ability to impact the project, and interest, their level of involvement and concern. The power-interest grid breakdown. High power, high interest stakeholders. Those are key players who need constant engagement. For example, executives, project sponsors. High power, low interest stakeholders. Influential stakeholders who must be kept satisfied but don't need frequent updates. For example, regulatory bodies. Low power, high interest. Supporters or blockers who can influence outcomes indirectly. For example, active users, community advocates, and low power, low interest stakeholders, those who require minimal communication, for example, distant departments. So a key takeaway: don't treat all stakeholders equally. Focus your energy on high power, high interest individuals while keeping others engaged at the right level. Hidden stakeholders are the ones you might overlook. Some stakeholders aren't always obvious, yet they hold significant influence over the project. Example: unexpected resistance in a corporate IT upgrade. A company once launched an IT upgrade project, assuming executives and IT teams were the key stakeholders. But once the system rolled out, employees resisted the change because they hadn't been consulted. They are the real influencers, department managers and team leaders who had informal authority over their teams. Key takeaway: identify informal influencers early. Sometimes the people who aren't in leadership positions can have the biggest impact on adoption and success. Understanding who your stakeholders are, their level of influence and their expectations is the critical to ensuring project success. By mapping them out and prioritizing communication, you set the stage for effective collaboration and risk mitigation. Next, we'll explore how to communicate with stakeholders effectively and build strong relationships to keep your project moving forward. Once you have identified your stakeholders, the next step is learning how to communicate with them effectively. Good communication can turn passive stakeholders into active supporters and prevent small issues from escalating into project blockers. Adapting your communication style to different stakeholders. Not all stakeholders communicate the same way. Some prefer high-level summaries, while others want detailed reports. Your ability to adapt your message is key to keeping them engaged. Example: dealing with a data-driven versus visionary executive. Imagine you managing a project and need approval from two executives. Executive A is analytical and wants data-backed reports before making decisions. Executive B is a visionary and prefers high-level storytelling about the project's impact. Key takeaway: tailor your communication. Use numbers, charts, and detailed reports for data-driven stakeholders, and focus on big-picture benefits and strategic alignment for visionaries. The RACI model: defining stakeholder roles. One of the biggest challenges in stakeholder communication is unclear roles. Who is responsible for what? That's where RACI model comes in. But what is RACI? R is responsible for responsible, the people doing the work. A for accountable, the ultimate decision makers. C for consulted, those who provide input before a decision is made. And I for informed, those who need updates but don't influence decisions. Example: launching a new website. The developers are responsible for building the website. The marketing director is the accountable for the final launch decisions. The design team is being consulted to provide inputs on branding and UX. The sales team is informed on the launch but doesn't make decisions. Key takeaway: clearly defining roles ensures no confusion about who is responsible for what, making communication smoother. Stakeholder meetings and how to keep them engaged, not bored. Too many stakeholder meetings feel unproductive and repetitive. The key is to make them structured, efficient, and relevant. The 3 levels of stakeholder meetings. Number 1. Strategic meetings, high-level discussions with executives on project direction. Number 2. Tactical meetings, mid-level meetings to align teams on execution. And number 3. Operational check-ins, quick updates with team members to track progress. Example: a project manager fixing stakeholder engagement. A project manager noticed executives were disengaged during weekly project updates. The issue? The meetings were just too detailed and tactical. The solution? Splitting meetings into high-level strategy calls for executives and detailed working sessions for the project team. Key takeaway: customize meeting structures to match stakeholder needs. Keep high-level meetings strategic and focused on decisions, Effective stakeholder communication isn't just about sending emails or hosting meetings. It's about delivering the right information to the right people and at the right time in the right way. One of the most challenging aspects of being a project manager is that you often don't have direct authority over the people you rely on to get the work done. Unlike a manager who controls hiring, promotions, or performance reviews, project managers must lead through influence, collaboration, and trust. So, how do you successfully manage a project when you can't give direct orders? First of all is the power of influence over authority. True leadership isn't about forcing people to do things. It's about inspiring, influencing, and guiding them towards shared goals. Great project managers know how to earn trust, build credibility by demonstrating expertise, consistency, and fairness. Use persuasion, help others see how the project benefits them and the organization. Create alignment, connect project goals with the team's personal and professional interests. Example, a project manager leading without authority. A project manager at a large tech company needed the IT and marketing teams to collaborate on a new product launch. The problem: neither team reported to the project manager. Instead of forcing compliance, the project manager built relationships with key team leaders before the project even started, framed the project as a shared success that benefited both departments, used early wins to gain credibility and create momentum. As a result, both teams voluntarily engaged and supported the project's success. Key takeaway: authority is given, but influence is earned. A project manager's ability to lead depends on their ability to align teams with a shared vision. Next one is the relation building as a leadership tool. Your relationships with stakeholders determine how much support and cooperation you will receive. The stronger your connections, the easier it is to align teams and resolve conflicts. Some techniques for building strong relationships. Understand individual motivations. Learn what drives each stakeholder. Some care about efficiency, others about innovation, and some about risk mitigation. Communicate frequently but intentionally. Keep stakeholders informed without overwhelming them with unnecessary details. Be a problem solver, not just a task manager. Show your stakeholders how your project helps them succeed. Example: relationship building in a high-stakes project. A project manager managing a global expansion project needed support from multiple country leads, but none of them reported to the project manager. Instead of making demands, the project manager met with each country leads to individually understand their challenges, adjusted the project timeline to accommodate regional constraints, recognized and celebrated small wins to keep morale high. By investing in these relationships, the project manager turns skeptics into project advocates. Key takeaway: people support those they trust. Strong relationships create buy-in, commitment, and teamwork. Next one are the practical techniques for managing without authority. Even if you don't have formal power, you can lead effectively using these techniques. Here are 3 essential strategies for project managers without authority. Stakeholder mapping. Identify the most influential stakeholders and focus on engaging them early. Storytelling and vision casting. Show your stakeholders how their contribution fits into the bigger picture. Leveraging champions. Find key people within each team who can advocate for the project on your behalf. Example: getting senior management buy-in without direct authority. A project manager needed executive buy-in for a new workflow automation system, but had no direct influence over leadership. Instead of making direct requests, they Gather data from other departments showing efficiency losses. Reframe the project as a cost-saving initiative, aligning it with company goals. Identify an influential director who was already advocating for process improvements. This strategic approach resulted in executive approval without formal authority. So, key takeaway here. The most effective project managers don't rely on authority. They use strategy, storytelling, and stakeholder engagement to drive results. Project management isn't about giving orders. It's about leading through influence, collaboration, and trust. The best project managers know how to navigate organizational dynamics, win over stakeholders, and keep projects moving forward even without formal authority. No matter how well you communicate, difficult stakeholders are inevitable. Some may be resistant to change, others may be constantly shifting priorities, and some may actively oppose your projects. So how do you handle these situations without derailing the progress? Number 1, understanding why stakeholders resist. Before reacting to resistance, it's important to understand why it happens. Difficult stakeholders are often acting out of genuine concerns rather than just being disruptive. Some common reasons include fear of change. They worry that the project will disrupt their workflow. Lack of clarity. They don't understand how the project benefits them. Competing priorities. They have other goals that conflict with your project. And loss of control. They feel like their authority or influence is being diminished. Example: resistance during a company-wide software implementation project. A project manager once faced resistance from department heads when rolling out a new internal software system. Why? The old system was inefficient, but the department heads were comfortable with it and worried that learning a new system would slow them down. Key takeaway: instead of forcing adoption, the project manager worked with these stakeholders to create training sessions and implementation phases, ensuring their concerns were addressed. As a result, they became project champions instead of blockers. Strategies for handling difficult stakeholders. Once you understand why a stakeholder is resisting, you can use targeted strategies to turn resistance into cooperation. Common types of difficult stakeholders and how to handle them. Type number 1, the opposer. Actively challenges your project and its validity. Solution: listen to their concerns, show data-driven proof of project benefits, and involve them in decision-making where possible. Type number 2, the indecisive executive. Delays approvals, creating bottlenecks. Solution: break down decisions into smaller steps and present clear options with pros and cons to accelerate decision-making. Type number 3, the micromanager. Wants to control over every detail. Solution: provide structured, pre-scheduled updates to reassure them without allowing them to slow down progress. Type number 4, the silent stakeholder. Doesn't provide feedback but later causes disruptions. Solution: actively engage them early, ensuring their concerns are addressed before they escalate into bigger problems. Key takeaway: difficult stakeholders are reality, but handling them proactively through empathy, structured communication, and influence can turn them into allies. And conflict resolution techniques. Conflicts happen. The key is how you manage them so they don't escalate. 3 proven conflict resolution strategies. The win-win approach. Look for solutions that address both sides' concerns, rather than one party winning and the other losing. The interest-based method. Focus on underlying needs, not just positions. Ask, what do you really want? Instead of just debating surface-level issues. Escalation when necessary. If conflict is causing project risks, escalate the issue to a neutral mediator or higher authority to ensure alignment. Example: resolving a conflict between IT and operations. An IT team wanted to implement automated workflows to improve efficiency, but the operations team resisted, fearing job cuts. Instead of pushing the change, project manager facilitated cross-team discussions to highlight how automation would remove repetitive tasks while allowing employees to focus on higher value work. This reframing helped resolve resistance. Key takeaway: conflict isn't always bad. It can lead to better solutions when handled constructively. Approach conflicts with curiosity, transparency, and a problem-solving mindset. Stakeholder management isn't about making everyone happy. It's about aligning interests, addressing concerns, and ensuring the project moves forward efficiently. The best project managers know how to balance diplomacy with assertiveness, ensuring that stakeholder concerns are heard while keeping the project on track. Mastering stakeholder management is one of the most valuable skills a project manager can develop. Whether you are leading a small initiative or a large-scale transformation, your ability to influence, communicate, and align people determines the success of your project. Key takeaways from this episode: identify and prioritize stakeholders using the power interest grid. Adapt your communication style to different stakeholders' needs. Use the RACI model to clarify roles and responsibilities. Build strong relationships by understanding individual motivations. Lead with influence, not authority, by creating alignment and leveraging key stakeholders. In the next episode, we are shifting gears to something every project manager struggles with: time management and productivity. Managing stakeholders is critical, but so is managing your own time and workload efficiently. We'll explore how to structure your day for maximum productivity, practical time-saving techniques to stay on top of your projects, how to balance meetings, deep work, and urgent tasks effectively. If you ever felt overwhelmed by endless meetings, shifting priorities, or competing deadlines, this next episode is for you. What's the biggest challenge you faced in managing stakeholders? Have you ever had to influence without formal authority? And how did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading and responding. This makes this video visible to more viewers. And before you go, don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Share this video with your team or colleagues who might benefit from it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode. Bye bye!